The campaigning comes to a close. Canadians are making their choice at ballot boxes across the country today, deciding what our next federal government will look like.
And we're tracking the latest developments here in Battleground GTA. This region expected to play a major role in tonight's results.
And now to another battle still brewing on the ice. We hear from the Maple Leafs as they look ahead to Game 5 against the Senators. That game going tomorrow night.
This is Live at 5. Good evening. I'm Bakari Saab.
And I'm Lena Latifat. Thanks for joining us and welcome to Live at 5. There are still a few hours left to cast your ballots as Canadians across the country decide who will form our country's next government. It's been a 5-week battle coming to an end in just a couple of hours.
Liberal leader Mark Carney, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, and NDP leader Jagmeet Singh, they've made their pitches to voters. Carney presented himself as someone who can stand up to U.S. President Donald Trump. Poilievre focused on addressing crime and the high cost of living. Singh pushed to protect social programs. Now, the Conservatives, they were long favored to win a majority government. This is while former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau was still in power. But the Liberals have since rebounded after Carney took over.
Canadian citizens over the age of 18 are eligible to vote at assigned polling stations. Open and close times are staggered across the country, but in most of Ontario, they'll be open until 9:30 p.m. Voters will be asked for ID, which indicates their identity and address. Another person with ID can also vouch for them. Full details on how to vote are posted at elections.ca.
And speaking of how to vote, CP24's Beatrice Vaisman has been talking to voters in Toronto, St. Paul's.
Yeah, that is where a rematch is taking place. This after the Liberals lost that seat by to the Conservatives in a by-election last year. Beatrice.
And there's a rematch tonight, Lena. This was a race less than a year ago where the Conservative candidate managed to snag this seat that's long been heralded a Liberal stronghold smack in the middle of the city. The Conservative candidate winning by 600 votes. And tonight they will go face to face again, the Liberals and the Conservatives. Some people speculating that perhaps the Liberal candidate might be able to take it back. At least that's some of the conversation happening here. It was really this situation that kind of was the beginning of the end of the Justin Trudeau era. In fact, some people calling it the kind of the canary in the coal mine. When the Liberals lost this seat, it was a sign of things to come. As for key issues for voters, I mean, anywhere you go across the city, voters are saying a lot of the same thing. The threat of tariffs from Donald Trump and the threat to Canadian sovereignty, that's top of mind for them. Housing costs, that's top of mind. The economy, healthcare, but the number one thing I've heard over and over again today, the cost of living. People having difficulties buying food, putting a roof over their head, and ultimately just providing for their families. Lots of people I've been talking to tonight, they do want change. Here's some reaction.
I just don't want to have a Trump 2.0. That's pretty much it. You know, Donald Trump's threats, it's kind of, you want somebody that can kind of, fight back.
I think seniors, a little bit different. They want the health issues. There are a lot of people that still have not got a family doctor almost 9 years later.
And so, I mean, as we've been reporting for weeks now, this has really turned into a two-horse race. The Liberals and Mark Carney against the Conservatives and Pierre Poilievre. We'll see how that translates to this riding, and particularly Leslie Church representing the Liberals. She was former chief of staff to people like Chrystia Freeland, for example. Dawn Stewart running again here in Toronto, St. Paul's. The NDP has swapped its candidate this time around. But certainly this is one of the key ridings to watch across the GTA. Right now, this was the only Conservative seat in Toronto proper. So we'll see if they can hang on to this one, Lena and Bakari. Polls, as you mentioned, they close at 9:30 tonight, so still plenty of time to come out here at Witchwood Barns, get in line. There isn't much of one. It's a quick process, in and out. Cast your ballot, have your Democratic say, and if you don't vote, you don't get to complain about the outcome, right? So come on out and do your due diligence to vote for the next leader of this country.
That's a great message. Beatrice Vaisman live in Toronto, St. Paul's, where things could get very interesting tonight. Thanks for this, Beatrice. And let's bring in CTV Toronto co-anchor Michelle Dubé now, who's taking part in tonight's election special, which begins right here on CP24 at 7 p.m. Michelle, so good to see you. Tell us more about this election special. I know there's a lot of work that's gone into it. What can viewers across the country expect?
Well, we in news, we say this all the time. Elections are like our Super Bowl, right? We just had the provincial election. Now there's this federal election, and we got a huge team here at CTV National, CP24. So it's kind of all hands on deck. You got Omar Sachedina, Vashi Capellos, Sandy Ronaldo. You're going to be seeing Heather Butts, Amanda Lang, and all these players are going to be in key positions. Also, we have gotten together some amazing panelists as well, people who are inside the political world, movers and shakers. And really the idea is you've been watching these leaders campaign for a month, and now you're voting, and we're going to take all those results that come in when the polls close at 9:30, and we're going to break them down for you, because really the landscape could very well change tonight. It could stay the same, but whatever happens, we'll be following the puck, and make sure to show you, why it matters.
And you, speaking of landscape, how critical is Toronto and the GTA to the outcome?
Okay, so they always say that we folks in Toronto and the GTA think we're the center of the universe in Canada. And I think when it comes to the federal election, that's partly true. Basically, historically, parties that dominate in this region are the parties that form government. We saw that with the Liberals. They've dominated the GTA and Toronto since 2015, but the Conservatives before that. And so it really is critical. It's seen as a battleground. And we know this because the leaders have been campaigning a lot here. And there's also the potential. There's a lot of swing seats, right, where it could go either way. Voters in this part of Ontario, they're not necessarily tied to one party, right? And now we're watching, it's sort of like a horse race. So it makes you wonder what message is going to resonate most to the voters. Also with redistribution and with some MPs not running for re-election, we've got what are seen as open seats that are up for grabs.
The GTHA matters, and 905 is crucial as well. Speaking of those open races, what are you watching for tonight, and any surprises you're looking for tonight, Michelle?
Well, I love that Beatrice was in Toronto St. Paul, because that one, it could flip, it might not. It was so close last time. Also, I'm thinking for Torontonians. Oh, no, I should mention Ajax. So that was Mark Holland's seat. He's not running for re-election. So you've got Jennifer McKelvey. You know her because she was the deputy mayor. She's a councillor. She's hoping to go to Ottawa. Her challenger, Greg Brady, strong name. He's known. He's a radio host, a personality. So that could be a really fun one to watch as well.
Okay, so Michelle, we just had the provincial election. We have this federal election. Let's talk about this political cycle when it comes to Canada.
I just think, I don't know about you, but when you talk to folks, we're in news, so people are always picking our brains, and you just get the sense that people are more tapped in. There's a lot at stake this time. We just saw Donald Trump posting on social media, weighing into our election. And the election has been in large part about who's best to challenge him. And so Canadians who maybe haven't voted in the past might feel compelled this time around. The leaders and the candidates have been telling them this election matters. And so the advance votes, over those 4 days, we saw a record number, 7.3 million folks cast their ballots. And so I'm so curious to see tonight what voter turnout is. My guess is it is going to be quite strong. And it should be, right? Because we cannot complain after today if we don't like the result, if we didn't vote, right?
It's so true. It's going to be a crucial vote, and you're going to be there tracking all of it for us. So looking forward to your coverage, Michelle Dubé. Thanks so much for doing this.
And yours too, because you'll be on the field.
Thanks so much. I'm going to be in Ajax covering that riding that Michelle was talking about. Again, be sure to stay with us on CP24 for analysis and perspective from all over the country. Our election night coverage with Omar Sachedina and Vashi Capellos starts at 7 o'clock.
But right now, it's 5:08. Let's get a check on the evening commute with CP24 traffic specialist Adjo and Tia Bois. Hey, Adj.
Good afternoon or good early evening, Bakari. So if you're making your way out and you're headed home and maybe trying to get to a poll, you're stuck in rush hour traffic, definitely. And delays are going to hinder you on the eastbound 403, and so are problems. So this is the eastbound 403, just as you make your way on the approach to King. 2 right lanes blocked. It says you make your way into Burlington with this ongoing collision, so really creating a delay as you navigate through. Checking out that drive on the QEW. If you're heading Niagara bound, busy into Mississauga, get a bit of a break into Oakville. Then it slows right down again as you head into Burlington. And on the 401, always a slow go during rush hour. Very busy across the top of the city. But the good news, we're getting a lull in problems. Not a lull in problems on city streets. In North York, a collision blocking lanes on Keele and Wilson. As well, up in Markham, we saw that stretch of restored and closed between 19th and Elgin Mills for a vehicle which went into a tree. I'll send it back to you.
This CP24 traffic report is brought to you by 407 ETR. Enjoy the journey with a stress-free commute.
One person's been taken to hospital after a single vehicle crash in rural Markham.
Chopper 24 was over the scene on Warden north of Elgin Mills. A badly damaged vehicle came to a rest on its roof after it collided with a tree around 3 o'clock this afternoon. The driver has serious injuries.
And police are investigating a shooting in Scarborough.
Shots were fired in the area of Shepherd Avenue and Meadowvale Road around 12:30 this morning. When officers arrived on scene, they found evidence of gunfire, but no injuries have been reported. So anybody with information about this incident, you're asked to get in touch with police or Crime Stoppers.
And police are asking for help identifying a suspect in a fraud investigation involving stolen credit card information and online purchases in Markham.
York police sharing footage of the suspect taking a package from the front door of a home in late March near Highway 407 and the Boxgrove bypass. Police say the packages were addressed to the victims with slightly altered personal information and involve fraudulent transactions for high-end clothing items. Anybody who recognizes the suspect is asked to contact York police.
Right now it's 5:11, 20 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Our Election Day coverage continues as we take a closer look at what is happening here in Toronto. Coming up next, we'll take you to the riding of University Rosedale. Stay with us. Welcome back to Live at 5. The final Nanos research poll for CTV News and the Global Mail, which were released yesterday, shows a tight race between the Liberals and the Conservatives.
The poll found that the Liberals have 42.6% support among decided voters. Conservatives are at 39.9%. The NDP is still well behind with just under 8% support. The poll is considered accurate within 2.7 percentage points, 19 times out of 20.
Now, when it comes to the question of who Canadians prefer as Prime Minister, 48.5% of those surveyed chose Liberal leader Mark Carney. 35.2% picked Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre. Just 4.5% rather said New Democrat leader Jagmeet Singh was their selection.
And with that, let's go back out to a local riding. CTV's Natalie Johnson is covering University Rosedale. This is where Chrystia Freeland is looking to hold on to that seat. Natalie, we have to ask, how has this race shaped up?
Hi, Bakari. Well, it is an interesting one to watch, and I think that's largely because Chrystia Freeland is a major political powerhouse in Ottawa. You'll remember that she played a central role in triggering this entire election. She was the former Deputy Prime Minister, former Finance Minister, whose very dramatic resignation from Justin Trudeau's cabinet back in December began this series of events that led to Prime Minister Trudeau stepping down, and then she bid herself for the federal Liberal leadership. She did, of course, lose to Mark Carney, but was welcomed into his cabinet and has played a big role thus far in the discussions over Trump tariffs. So, you know, she's a big player in Ottawa, but she's also got to hold on to her seat here at University Rosedale. It's a seat that she's held for more than 10 years now, but she says she doesn't take it for granted. The NDP's candidate, Serena Purdy, says she's got an ear to the ground. She's a community organizer, and she feels that there is a taste for progressive politics within this area. The boundaries of this particular riding were recently redrawn to include a part of Toronto that pledged a lot of support for Olivia Chow. So this will be an interesting one to watch. You know, Freeland, an intimidating incumbent, certainly, but the NDP is looking to gain ground here. The Conservative candidate did not respond to CTV News' request for an interview, but certainly there are a lot of CBC blue signs through this riding as well, especially in the Rosedale area.
Natalie, in the time that you've spent in this riding, and you've, I'm sure, spoken with some voters, what are they telling you about the issues that matter most to them?
Yeah, Lena, we spent a lot of time today actually talking to voters about what issues matter most to them. And I will say they really do run the gamut. Everything from childcare to greenhouse gas emissions to the economy. And an interesting thing to note about this particular riding of University Rosedale is it is very diverse as far as its socioeconomic economic spread. It does include, you know, the mansions of Rosedale, but also U of T, student housing, Kensington Market, and more. So a real number of issues affecting the people who live here, and the candidates are well aware that, you know, it might be a complicated ward to represent in that way, but they've got a few hours left to seal the deal here on Election Day.
Okay, coming to us live from University Rosedale, CTV's Natalie Johnson. Natalie, thank you very much.
Every vote matters, every hour matters, and that voting process still underway. Now, Mayor Olivia Chow encouraged Torontonians to do the same thing, to cast ballots during an event downtown this afternoon.
Well, I did the advance vote already a few weekends ago, and my message is clear. Go vote. This is your chance to exercise your democratic right. People have died so that we have this right. Poll is open till 9:30.
Right now, it's 5:16, 20 degrees. This is Live at 5.
We are learning more about some of the people killed in the Vancouver vehicle attack over the weekend and how they're being remembered. Those details are next.
Victims of the vehicle attack at a Filipino festival in Vancouver are starting to be identified.
For more on this, we're joined live by CP24's Phil Perkins, who's in our newsroom with those details. Phil, what more are we learning?
Well, we're learning that one family's been completely torn apart from what happened at 8:15 local time in Vancouver at the Lapu-Lapu Festival. It is a celebration of Filipino culture when a black SUV drove straight through the crowd. It was in a residential neighborhood. This is where a lot of food trucks and merchandise was being sold. There was almost nowhere for these people to run. This thing drove straight through it, has killed thus far 11 people. Over 30 people have been sent to hospital. Their injuries range from serious to life-threatening, so that death toll could go up. And we understand that the victims' age range from 5 to 65, and the 5-year-old girl is among a family of 3 who were all run down and killed. The 5-year-old is named Katie Lee. Her father, 47-year-old Richard Lee. The mother, 30-year-old Lin Huang, were all struck and killed. We do understand they are survived by their 16-year-old son. To learn a little bit more about why he survived, how he survived, because he wasn't even there. We heard from the victim's brother, and he explained why, thankfully, the 16-year-old is safe.
Andy was supposed to join them. At the last moment, he decided he wanted to stay home to finish some homework. And the last thing that Andy received was a text from his dad at like 8:06 saying that, don't come anymore because it's over. We're going to head home. And after that, it was radio silence. He's still trying to absorb the situation, and I don't think he has fully comprehend what have happened.
And, of course, a lot of support in the Lower Mainland right now. The GoFundMe for the Lee family has reached $234,000, but that will never bring back this 16-year-old boy's family. Another victim been identified as a teacher and counselor by the name of Kira Salim. She worked at Fraser River Middle School, and the school is sending out newsletters to the parents, the community, saying that there's lots of supports for them. As for the suspect, Adam Kai Gilo, 30-year-old man from Vancouver, he's facing 8 counts of second-degree murder. Of course, that could go up, as I mentioned before. Over 30 people in hospital right now, some in life-threatening condition. He is still in custody, and the case has been put forward towards May 26th, and the public, really reacting harshly to law enforcement in terms of the security or lack of security around this festival. They said in the past nothing has ever happened, so they thought it didn't require what we would normally see at a Maple Leaf Square, for instance, garbage trucks, cement, street blockers, tons of police. That is not the case of what happened at the Lapu-Lapu Festival, and law enforcement definitely under scrutiny right now. And the investigation continues as to why this happened. Back to you.
Okay, Phil Perkins on that horrific attack in Vancouver. Phil, thanks so much. Closer to home, prosecutors have made opening remarks in the sexual assault trial of 5 former members of Canada's World Junior Hockey team in a London courtroom.
Jurors are hearing the detailed allegations against Michael McLeod, Carter Hart, Alex Formanton, Dylan Dubé, and Callan Foote. They've all pleaded not guilty. McLeod has also pleaded not guilty to an additional charge of being a party to the offense of sexual assault. The prosecution alleges that McLeod invited other people into his hotel room after having sex with the complainant. The initial sexual encounter is not part of the trial. And prosecutors say that the woman felt that she had no choice but to go along with what she was told to do.
A conclave to elect a successor to Pope Francis will begin on May 7th.
The date was selected by cardinals holding informal meetings to hash out church business following the April 21st death of Pope Francis. They held off announcing the opening of the conclave until after his funeral on Saturday. Well, the Vatican says that more than 180 participated in the 5th informal meeting in Rome today. A smaller group of 135, known as the College of Cardinals, is eligible to elect a new pope.
I think what I would look for is a pope who is used to what happens in the Vatican. Where he comes from, to me, is not very important. But of course, it would be a great honor, I think, for Africa to receive. Even if we get a good number of votes for a person from Africa, it would be a good sign.
Cardinals under the age of 80 are eligible to vote for the next pope.
Right now it's 5:23, 20 degrees. This is Live at 5.
The Toronto Maple Leafs are looking to wrap up the Battle of Ontario against the Ottawa Senators. We're going to have more from the team on their game plan heading into tomorrow night. That's next.
The Maple Leafs are gearing up for Game 5 of their first-round playoff series with the Senators. This is after failing to complete the sweep.
So the team hit the ice today to practice before tomorrow night's game. Ottawa defeated Toronto 4-3 in overtime on Saturday to stay alive and continue the Battle of Ontario. We were so close. The last 3 games in the series have been decided in OT. The Leafs lead 3-1, and they will have home ice advantage on their side in Tuesday's tilt.
Well, I thought we created a lot of great chances. They made some saves. The post came into play, a couple of them. Sometimes it's always not going to fall your way. So that's what happens. That's how the game goes sometimes, and you just got to figure out ways that you can be better, and that's what we'll do going forward.
Just have to keep getting better. I think obviously we were right there, did a lot of good things, but know that there's more to give and areas to clean up and be better, and just to be aggressive. And obviously, I think. Really go out there and enjoy it, have some fun with being an opportunity to close it out at home.
A former Leafs player and Leafs Morning Take co-host Jay Rosehill says that Leafs fans shouldn't panic after the team failed to close out the Senators in 4 games.
I mean, one goal away, one shot away from a sweep, I think is fantastic. I think the sweep's really hard to get. That 4th game is the toughest one to get, as they always say. So, I mean, anyone who's doubting the Leafs because of one loss or anything like that, I think is crazy. It's been a good series. It's been all Leafs, and they got another chance to get it done tomorrow.
Yeah, now is not the time to be nervous. Drop for Game 5 is set for 7 o'clock tomorrow at Scotiabank Arena.
Right now it's 5:28, 20 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Well, there are still a few hours left to cast your ballots if you haven't already. We are tracking all your Election Day developments right here at home and across the country. More details coming up.
The campaigning comes to a close. Canadians are making their ballot choices right now across the country, deciding what our next federal government's going to look like.
And we're tracking the latest developments here in Battleground GTA. This region expected to play a major role in tonight's results. This is a live shot from a polling station in the city.
And we're learning more about some of the victims killed in the Vancouver vehicle attack, including a mother, father, and their 5-year-old daughter.
You're watching Live at 5. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Lena Latifat.
And I'm Bakari Savage. There's still a few hours left to cast your ballot as Canadians across the country decide who's going to form our country's next government.
It has been a 5-week battle coming to an end in just a couple of hours. Liberal leader Mark Carney, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, and NDP leader Jagmeet Singh have made their pitches to you, the voter, and is now out of their hands.
And party leaders cast their ballots earlier today. This as voting continues across the country.
Yeah, Pierre Poilievre cast his ballot this morning alongside his wife at a church in Greeley in his riding of Carleton. That's in Ottawa. Pierre has represented that riding since 2004 when he became the youngest MP in Parliament at age 25.
And Liberal leader Mark Carney was joined by his wife as they cast their ballots in the riding of Ottawa-Vanier. Hey, Carney is actually seeking a seat for himself in the riding of Nepean. He became the first Canadian Prime Minister to never hold elected office when he replaced Justin Trudeau in March.
It's not like one of those school president elections where you're not supposed to vote for yourself. I voted for the best candidate.
Wonder who that is. Green Party co-leader Elizabeth May cast her ballot at a polling station on Vancouver Island. A one-day ballot tracking by Nanos Research from yesterday has the Green Party at 1.9%.
And Bloc Québécois leader Yves-François Blanchet cast his ballot this morning. Blanchet has been the party's leader and represented the riding of Belleuil-Chambly since 2019. The Bloc has won 32 seats in each of the last 2 federal elections.
NDP leader Jagmeet Singh already cast his ballot during advanced polls. Today, he met with campaign volunteers waving election signs on a street corner in Port Moody, British Columbia. This is certainly where the Liberals are hoping, the NDP rather, is hoping to pick up some seats tonight. This is his last campaign stop before his election night watch party in Burnaby. That's also in British Columbia.
Well, CP24's Beatrice Fazeman is talking to voters in Toronto, St. Paul's. This is where a rematch is taking place after the Liberals lost that seat to the Conservatives in a by-election last year. Okay, Beatrice, you know what? This is certainly a riding to watch. Let's talk about what you've heard so far.
It is absolutely a riding to watch, Bakari and Lena, and that rematch is exactly why. Less than a year ago, the Conservatives did what the Conservatives haven't done in a very long time, and that's win a seat in Toronto proper. They did so by roughly 600 votes. The Conservative candidate, Don Stewart, beating out Leslie Church, the Liberal, who's been a chief of staff to a number of high-profile Liberals, including Chrystia Freeland. And so now, tonight, the question is, can the Conservatives repeat that? Back when it happened in the by-election, Lena and Bakari, this was deemed kind of to be the canary in the coal mine when it came to the Justin Trudeau era, that it was the beginning of the end, that if one of the safest Liberal seats in the core of the city could be snatched by the Conservatives, well, it was certainly a sign of the times. The times have changed, though. Now, Mark Carney leading the federal Liberals. And so the big question tonight, what is going to happen here in Toronto, St. Paul's? It is certainly a riding to watch, a battleground riding, so to speak. Across the GTA, there are 31 seats up for grabs. Vote-rich area. Conservatives, as of right now, have just 4 of them. If they want to form government, they're going to have to increase that amount. When it comes to what I'm hearing from voters, it's pretty unanimous no matter where you are in the city. Certainly parts of Toronto, St. Paul's, more affluent than other parts of the city. It encompasses Forest Hill, some of the richest people in our entire city. But the cost of living, still something that a lot of people in other parts of Toronto, St. Paul's, and all across the GTA are grappling with. Food, very, very expensive at the grocery store. Putting a roof over your head, whether it's paying for rent or a mortgage. The cost of housing is exorbitant. People worried about how they're going to provide for their families. And then, of course, there's the threat of Donald Trump and the threat to Canadian sovereignty, healthcare, the economy, other key issues I'm hearing from voters. Here's some reaction.
We have the rental is so expensive, the grocery is so expensive. Everything is getting high and high. So I feel like the person who I want to vote today will make difference.
Well, fiscal responsibility going forward, more transparency in government, more economic freedom for businesses and everything else.
Healthcare, education. I'm a small business owner, so taxation and policy behind business, those things are important to me.
You know, that first woman you heard from, a brand new Canadian, she just got her citizenship a few weeks ago and felt compelled to actually exercise her democratic right as a Canadian to cast her ballot. So many other people across the GTHA, of course, will be doing that tonight. And if the advance polls were any indication, with that record turnout, more than 7 million people casting their ballots, the sunshine will help a lot of people, encourage a lot of people to get out to the polling stations tonight as well to cast their ballots. These polling stations open till 9:30. As long as you're in line by then, you'll be able to cast your ballot. Back to you.
Always helpful when the weather cooperates on Election Day. Beatrice Fazeman, thanks so much.
Yeah.
And so interested to see what the voter turnout will be once we have those final numbers. We should mention we have more Election Day coverage coming up. But in the meantime, a reminder, our special coverage with Omar Sachedina and Vashi Kapelos, that gets underway at 7 p.m. this evening right here on CP24.
Right now, it's 5:36. Let's get a check on the road. CP24's traffic specialist, Adjo Nsiaya Bois. Adj, is it a mad dash for the polls?
It looks like it's a mad dash. It's very slow, especially Monday afternoon of rush hour traffic. Usually a little bit lighter. Not the case today. And if you're on the northbound lanes of the 400 heading in towards either North York or Vaughan, we had reports of a stalled vehicle in the left lane through Steeles. Haven't spotted it yet, but definitely seeing that backlog of traffic as drivers try to make their way either home or towards the polls. Traveling towards the 401, we are still dealing with a busy go across the top of the city, slowly starting to thin out a wee bit, but we still have issues impacting the drive. This is on the eastbound 403, just as you make your way through King Road in Burlington. Looks like it was a debris cleanup. This is an emergency crew, not a vehicle in the ditch, but they do have that right lane occupied. Also major problems if you paid a bit of extra money trying to get home early using the 407. Eastbound on the 407, your Highway 27, because of a grass fire, they've blocked the two right lanes as well as the northbound Highway 27 on-ramp to the eastbound 407 blocked as well. I'll send it back to you both.
All right, thanks, Aj. A Girl Guide leader is facing charges in connection with the sexual assault case in York Region. This dates back to 1998.
64-year-old Karen Spence is charged with 3 counts of sexual assault and 3 counts of sexually exploiting a young person. York Regional Police allege the victim was abused between January of 1998 and September of 2002 when they were under the age of 16. Investigators say Spence was a Girl Guide leader in the Georgina area from 1995 to 2001 and also worked as a youth hockey coach and referee. Anybody with information is asked to contact police.
Well, a commemoration was held in a downtown park this afternoon for the National Day of Mourning. This is for workers who were killed or seriously injured on the job.
These are our friends, our siblings, our loved ones.
A few dozen union members showed up for the ceremony at Larry Sefton Park on Bay Street. Unions are calling for government to do more to address workplace dangers, both physically and mentally.
Well, according to government data, more than 1,000 people were killed at work. That was just in 2023. More than 270,000 people were injured badly enough that they couldn't work.
You're watching Live at 5 on Toronto's Breaking News, CP24. Still to come.
Yeah, coming up on making Ontario courts more efficient. The Ford government announces new plans aimed at streamlining and offering more support. More on what that could mean next.
Welcome back. Victims of the vehicle attack at a Filipino festival in Vancouver, they're starting to be identified.
And for more on this, let's go live to CP24's Phil Perkins, who joins us from the newsroom. Phil.
Yeah, Bakari and Lena, yeah, we already know this is heartbreaking. When we first found out, I was anchoring 7 a.m. on Sunday, and we saw what was unfolding in Vancouver at the Lapu Lapu Festival. It's a celebration of everything, Filipino culture, cuisine, everything. It happened around 8:15 p.m. local Vancouver time, Saturday night. We started getting wind of it, and it was a tragic scene. Now it's even more tragic somehow as we're starting to learn more and more about the victims. There's 11 of them. They range in age from 5 to 65. And now we're learning that that 5-year-old is a part of a family of 3 that were run down and killed. The 5-year-old's name is Katie Lee, her father, 47-year-old Richard Lee, her mother, 30-year-old Lin Huang, all killed in this attack. Their 16-year-old son survived. Why? Because he did not attend the festival. We heard from his uncle, and we're also going to hear from former OPP Commissioner and Public Safety expert Chris Lewis about this entire thing.
She's just a very lively, cheerful person. There are times when she would just go to my parents' place and it'd be the life of the party. She's so adorable. We're gonna miss her. We're just one of many families that have been affected by this, and our heart goes out to all of them. The only thing that I can say is that you just have to cherish your loved ones because life is short and you never know what can happen.
And the other victim is Kira Salim. She's a teacher and counselor at Fraser River Middle School in the Lower Mainland. And of course, they put out statements to all the families who are affected by this, trying to tell them that there are supports available for them. As for the victim, 30-year-old Adam Kai G. Lo is still in custody. He is facing, at the moment, 8 counts of second-degree murder. That is most likely going to go up, according to authorities. That's because over 30 people have been sent to hospital, and their injuries range from serious to life-threatening. So again, still in custody, and this case being moved forward to May 26th. Back to you, too.
Okay, CP24's Phil Perkins joining us live from the newsroom. Thank you. Well, the Ford government says it intends to introduce legislation aimed at strengthening Ontario's courts.
The province plans to bring forward a bill that would streamline the judicial selection process and speed up the appointment of judges to the Ontario Court of Justice. It would also create a dedicated cybercrime and cryptocurrency prosecution team, as well as expand the guns and gangs unit. The government says legislation is part of a wider, tough-on-crime approach.
Any way we can help address backlogs and delays in the Ontario Court of Justice is a better day for victims and their families. As you may recall, last year our government made history by significantly increasing court capacity at the Ontario Court of Justice with a $29 million investment to add at least 25 net new judges. Well, today I'm pleased to announce we're building on this investment by adding 17 additional Ontario Court of Justice judges. These measures build on the historic progress in reducing and resolving cases before the courts, and it's all part of our plan to increase capacity.
And the Ford government says adding judges to the Court of Justice is going to help it keep pace with what it described as a growing number of complex cases.
It is now 5:45, 20 degrees out there. You're watching Live at 5.
Well, Donald Trump weighing in once again on the Canadian political process. More on what the U.S. president is saying about our country on Election Day. That's coming up. U.S. President Donald Trump renewed his attacks on Canada's sovereignty today and appeared to urge Canadians to vote for him.
Yeah, Trump made a lengthy social media post that reads in part, elect the man who has the strength and wisdom to cut your taxes in half. Increase your military power for free to the highest level in the world. Have your cars, steel, aluminum, lumber, energy, and all other businesses quadruple in size with zero tariffs or taxes if Canada becomes the cherished 51st state of the United States of America. He also repeated his false claim that the U.S. subsidizes Canada.
Well, CTV News political analyst says that the latest from the president is not a surprise.
This is actually not unusual. We know that in the United States, presidents can only serve 2 terms. And what we're seeing right now, Donald Trump is unwilling to endorse someone from his party, say like his vice president. He wants to make it all about himself, which is why he's actually saying and suggesting that he might run for a 3rd term. So I think what we're seeing here is just the level of narcissism of the president, but also making clear that this idea, this ambition that he has, that Canada become subservient to the United States as a territory is not going away. And I think what we're seeing here is not only is Donald Trump has moved beyond placing his finger on the scale to now making clear where his desires lie, and that is Canada needs and he wants it to be a state.
And conservative strategist Shakir Chambers believes U.S. President Donald Trump has influenced the election in favor of the Liberals.
It's not that we didn't have an answer for it. I think we didn't pivot strong enough or fast enough to convince voters that we had an answer for it. I feel like someone like Mark Carney, as I said earlier, I think voters, whether it's justified or unjustified, they do view his experience, they view his time as a Bank of Canada governor, Bank of England governor, that he would probably be the best to navigate our economy during these turbulent times, and be best to deal with Donald Trump. And I think you're seeing that reflected in the polls. The sharp rise of the Liberals didn't happen for no reason. Sure, Justin Trudeau stepped down, but I think the Liberals replaced Justin Trudeau with someone that had a level of credibility to help us navigate the turbulence. And the more Trump talks, the more you see the uptick in Liberal support. So there's no doubt the trade war and Donald Trump himself and the constant tweets have had a dramatic effect on the Conservative fortunes to benefit the Liberals.
And with a high amount of interest in this election, CTV News political commentator Scott Reed says that both the Conservatives and Liberals could benefit from this high voter turnout.
If there's a high turnout, the Conservatives will be cheering and saying to themselves, our bigger, better, stronger, get out the vote machine is showing up. And people who don't typically vote, younger males, must be showing up if the vote totals are so high. So they would have plenty of reason to feel excited. On the other hand, the Liberals would say if there's a huge voter turnout, we know who turns out disproportionately. That's seniors. And they have a lock, particularly on older women. So they would look at those numbers and say, if people are organically going to the polls, are carrying themselves there on their own, wanting to vote, probably a higher vote turnout favors the Liberals.
And CTV News political commentator and former NDP leader Tom Mulcair spoke with us about how strategic voting could really influence the outcome of this election.
The voting universe of the Liberals is quite large. I can't think of a single person I know who votes regularly for the Green Party who would ever say, I'm going to go vote Conservative. So if they're in a race where they're saying there's not a chance for their local Green candidate, you can see them moving over to the Libs. A lot of NDPers have apparently done that as well, if we look at the polling. Similarly, even though it's only a couple of percent that Maxime Bernier's People Party candidate gets, they might be looking at local races saying, you know what, this time around it's too close. I'm going to stick with Poilievre.
And joining us now for more on the federal election is Brampton Mayor Patrick Brown. Mayor Brown, thanks a lot for speaking with us this evening. Let's talk about the clout that Peel Region has, especially when it comes to politics.
Well, certainly the pathway to a majority provincially or federally is winning in the GTA, and Peel Region is the fastest growing region in the country and obviously has significant seats in the House of Commons. So I think there'll be a lot of eyes on Peel Region.
Tell me what you hear from Bramptonians about what issues matter to them when it comes to this election.
Well, so the issues that I have raised, I know are important to residents, relate to public safety. Obviously, there's an eagerness to see bail reform addressed. We've had a level of activity of organized crime in the GTA that is a threat to community safety. And so I think from a new government, we'd love to see that taken more seriously, that we can't continue to have the level of criminal activity that we've seen in the GTA in recent years. I'd also say, obviously, the elephant in the room for this election is the Trump tariffs and what it means for businesses. And so having a plan to protect jobs in the GTA and Peel Region, I think is also paramount.
Okay, along with that power comes responsibility. Let's talk about, the effect of actually getting out and going to the polls. Will your constituents actually take that responsibility serious? Head out to the polls, voter turnout.
Well, there's still time to come out and vote until this evening, encouraging everyone to vote, regardless of your partisan affiliation or who you want to be prime minister. Get out and vote. It's your duty in a democracy. I do think we're going to have a high turnout. There is a real contrast in this election in terms of the views and visions for Canada. And I think because it's a relatively close race in the country, I think you're going to see a higher turnout than usual.
Mayor Brown, Canadians know you for your conservative roots. Is there anybody you are endorsing in this race? Why or why not?
Well, I haven't got involved in this election. I haven't been asked to be involved. I certainly put out a list of priorities for the city of Brampton. And I would note, largely we have a good relationship with the government of Canada on some key projects like the LRT expansion, electrification of our city bus fleet. And for that, among other reasons, I have been watching on the sidelines this election, and I'll certainly be watching all the results.
Mayor Brown, you mentioned some of the priorities. What about some of the sleeper issues?
Mm-hmm. Well, it really goes back to those criminal justice issues. I don't believe there's been adequate attention to them in the campaign. That's a bit of a sleeper issue. I think there's a lot of Canadians who don't feel as safe. International extortions, international auto thefts that at one point 2 years ago was $2 billion a year. There's a level of nervousness. Largely, Canada was viewed as a safe place, and I think there's concern. And if there's a sleeper issue, it's how that influences the vote.
Brampton Mayor Patrick Brown, we really appreciate your thoughts on tonight's federal election. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Thanks a lot.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, it's now 5:55, 20 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Well, Metallica giving back to Toronto in a big way. More on the band's generous gift. That's coming up. Seven artists make up the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame class of 2025.
80s pop icon Cyndi Lauper is among those being honored this year, as she's joined by a diverse group of artists. Outkast, Soundgarden, The White Stripes, Joe Cocker, and Chubby Checker. The induction ceremony is going to take place in Los Angeles in November.
And speaking of iconic, rock band Metallica is giving back to Toronto after playing 2 sold-out shows in the city.
Yeah, Pete was at both of them. The band's foundation, All Within My Hands, donated $40,000 to the Daily Bread Food Bank. The gift's going to provide about 40,000 meals to people in need. Metallica previously donated to the food bank in 2016. This is after playing a surprise show at the Opera House.
Very few people recognize that if you're on disability insurance in Ontario, you receive $1,300 a month, and therefore you require food banks, you require food charities in order to get by. And so this raises awareness, and it comes out of the lead guitarist's own experience. He grew up in poverty. He grew up knowing about food insecurity. He grew up knowing that he needed food charity. And so this is their opportunity to be able to give back from that lived experience.
Metallica previously donated to the Daily Bread Food Bank in 2016 after playing a surprise show at the Opera House. So nice of them to give back like this.
Right now it's 5:59, 20 degrees. This is Toronto's Breaking News, CP24.
Thanks so much for watching. And remember, you still have some time to cast your ballot. CTV News at 6 is next, and our election special begins at 7 o'clock.